When I became the curator of the museum, I began to focus on Carver and Picayune and Black history itself, because what I was taught in history let me know that there's a gap in the Black community with the kids, and I feel that if you don't know where you came from, you don't know where you're going, and it's difficult even to plan where you're going without that. If someone tells your story, they can tell it like they want to tell it. So I've decided in this museum, I'm going to tell the truth, the story, no matter, you can call it our story, his story, but it's going to be history. And that is why I'm focusing on history, period, in the 3 separate rooms. I would tell the story in the Carver room of Carver. I would tell the story of Picayune in Picayune, and I would tell the story of National Black History in the National Black History room. Therefore, I'm trying to cover all bases. We are in the Carver room. In this room, you'll have the graduation program from 1943 to 1970, when the school closed. It will show that when Professor Johnson first came here, there was only 6 students graduating in 1943. Actually, he was here a little year prior to that, in 42, and he only had 2 students. He told me he had no problem selecting the valedictorian or the salutatorian because it was only 2. He began at Picayune Color School, which was on the East Side School, and with the help of L.O. Crosby, he gave the land to the school. George Washington Carver was built in 1950. Also in the school, in this section, you will have pictures of the first homecoming parade, pictures of the first band, the last band, pictures of the football team, which was #1 in the state of Mississippi for the most consecutive wins until 2007. Picayune Carver Pirates won 64 consecutive games, and South Panola came in and broke their records, and I could not tell you how many games they won because it was way beyond 64. It's the most viewed display we have in the museum. Started from 1954, and it stopped somewhere along the road. But back in the days, we didn't have the cell phone, all the modern day technology. So once you got your picture taken, you were happy. They served over 1,600 years of military service with dignity, honor, and pride. And they served in World War I, World War II, Korean conflict, Vietnam, Desert Storm, Desert Shield. The Picayune room have what we call the business of yesterday and the black businesses of today. And what we have is the black businesses of yesterday on top and the present black business, because we say we're standing on their shoulders. So it wouldn't be for them, there would be no business today. So they inspired us to open black business of today by seeing them. Also, we have a group of men called the Picayune Black Sox. What they would do, they would play against teams like New Orleans, Pensacola, Hattiesburg. They would go all over the area. They would also come here and play in Black Sox Park, which was in the part of the town known as Goodyear now. They had a stadium over there, shall we call it bleachers, a field. This was known as Baker's Theater on Rosa Street at the time. It was the first, well, I would say first and only black theater in the community. At the time, you didn't have air conditioning, so most people would walk across the street and buy, I guess we would call them a pop, a soda, whichever one you want to call them nowadays. So that's what they were famous for. It was a grocery store. That's J.L. Breland. At the time, he was known as Little James Brown, or James Brown, shall I say. played in Mississippi and Louisiana all over, doing Jane Brown behind a band. You're looking at the Blue Notes. They should have been the first Supremes. Even they were in contact with Motown, but what happened to them, each one of them decided to go to different colleges. So they called them to break up. Each one of them went to college and graduated. Alice Manning had a talk show on a Sunday. She was perhaps, well, Professor Johnson was the first black to have a talk show on radio, and she was second. And so she would do a talk show and also do an article in the Picayune item. This is Father and Son sculpture done by Cleveland John, a.k.a. Kikuyu John. You can tell the father by the receding hairline and the son without the receding hairline. It's called the National Black History Room. He's surrounded by a cloud of witness. This design was done by Reverend McKinney because surrounded by a cloud of witness is a biblical thing. But the only reason we say he made it because of Dr. King, Frederick Douglass, Dubois, Rosa Parks, Abernathy. We could just go on. Randolph, and named many, but they set the path for him. And he just stepped in and went to the highest level. African first came to America in 1526. A lot of people don't realize that. Black freedom fighters of the Civil War. Great kings and queens of Africa. These are great African Americans of this time. As you can see, Pearl Bailey, Josephine Baker, Ida B. Wells, Bessie Coleman, one of the first black females to fly an airplane. Here we have the 6 black presidents, and Obama is not included. Back in the day, they say if you had an ounce of black blood in you, you was considered black. So we have Thomas Jefferson, Andrew Jackson, Abraham Lincoln, President Dwight D. Eisenhower, Calvin Coolidge, and Warren Harding. The strokes of color arch across the sky, the peoples for all the universes to see. Nature's way of showing human mankind how colors blend in perfect harmony. Unified in beauty, each color has a space, never a threat to each other, each has a place. The earth too has a rainbow, one of mankind, each contribute to the color that blinds. Red, brown, black, white, and yellow. Each member has his hue. Color shows just the exterior, but never the inner you. As reflected in the rainbow, we are many, but we are also one. When this truth has been accepted, racism and prejudice will be gone.